What do you see around you?
It's like, I don't know, mists clearing. Like if I was in them. I guess I'm in a upper valley floor and the mists are coming off the mountains. And there's this beautiful river with the most gorgeous colored water. It is kind of blue, kind of green water, but the way that its very essence, its very being amidst those colors is like the most, when light sunlight or something will dance on the water, it's like that, but it's so it's sunlight colors dancing, and then the shades of the blue and the green of the water.
That sounds beautiful.
And it's doesn't well, it looks and feels like a river, but it has and it's very wide, maybe 20 feet wide anyways, maybe a little bit more. um, the only thing I can think to say is that the river is sentient. It's alive. It's a cohesive structure of consciousness, or I'm not quite sure how to describe it because I don't know that I've ever run across anything, but it's beyond beautiful, and it's beyond just, oh, wait a minute. So what just a sense came to me now that where I am, this is either a tributary of, or, and Rose thinks it's pretty cool right here, the river of love. So the valley, it's a high valley, um, that this river comes through with, again, the mountains that are around have, well, I think everything here has a different quality. I mean, on Earth, I have heard the stars breathe and can listen to the trees, but this, I don't know if it's my ability to take that in is so much more vast. That's part of it, but I also think that, well, it's beyond a magical place. And the river flows, but the river has, in the light or in the colors that the river captures, or emits the light, it's information that it also emits. And so the atmospherics are changing a little bit. The mists are thinning because almost like when the morning mist moves
Mm-hmm.
off. But best way to describe it is that the consciousness within, particularly the river and the mountains, um, uh, well, palpable is the word that comes to mind. It's there's life force in it, just as if I can feel your life force, and so I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but it um, so I can look at the river and notice the colors and the movement in the river. But if I connect with a section of river, there's a meeting of that consciousness between me and it, or maybe I'm it. So I don't know.
Do you feel that you're a part of this river or just connected to it consciously?
Well, I was gonna say at first connected to it consciously, but
Mm-hmm.
I got the sense that I can observe the river and am the river at the same time.
Okay.
So there's slight variations in elevations. So maybe if I'm higher at one part of myself, I can observe. I don't know. It's fascinating. It's kind of trippy. I'm not sure how.
I'm wondering if you can connect to, like, say, the trees or the valley that you were speaking of in the way that you can the river.
Well, uh, the mountains seem to be calling my connection, my attention the most right now, and um, so I can see them, but mostly I can feel them. It's a connection, but it's the connection is either so deep that it's bringing me part of it, like fused with it or immersed in it, or um, and the the different plants that are kind of along the edge of the river. There's some trees. There's some things that are not uh, familiar as far as the species and stuff. Um, so I guess uh, I have the ability to fully be in well the I don't know, maybe because that's the thing that I'm so the river, I am the river and I'm watching the river. And I get a sense that I have a very deep connection with the other things, which I may be part of that as well. I don't know. It's but the biggest focus seems to, or the biggest connection seems to be the river. And there's something very different about this river, or well, it's very beautiful, but um, like the water feels more than just water, and it looks like more than just water, and it sounds like more than just water. So um, it's alive, it's palpable, it's consciousness. It is a conscious, oh, well, it's talking to me. Or I'm hesitating to think that I am the river because I don't know, I don't think I've ever been a river before. But so I'm naming it using the language that I have to name it a river, which it is, although beyond any river that I've in this trip remember seeing. But but just like my cat, who is decided, and she only rarely will come when there's someone else around. So there's a specific reason why but she's absolutely motorboat. She just thinks that the energy right here is finest kind. So if I was to describe the cat, I could describe the consciousness, and that it's a sentient, conscious, living being with that communicates with me. So the river is, instead of a cat, it's a river. I don't know how to.
Mm-hmm. And you also said you were going to name the river. What name did you give it?
That's not coming right now.
Okay. Now, can you take notice of your form? Do you feel that you are water? Do you feel that you are connected in that way, as in, I am this river? Do you notice your shape, your form?
When I'm looking for that, or it's the like if I would look down
Mm-hmm.
at my arm, I would see, well, I know it's called an arm, so I'd call it that. But so when I'm doing the same with this, I just see more of the river. So
Okay.
I am the river.
Okay.
And so I can see out from the river in the whole river at once, its path, or focus on, or I could focus on, certain areas, like, my shoulder, or my, body parts. But it, So I can perceive, and I want to say there, there might be sections of the river that I could call my attention to, or sections of me I could call my attention to. But it seems to be a much, okay, well, what I'm thinking is that there's the, like if I was breathing in my own physical body, I could feel the air move through parts of me. Um, but when I feel into the river that I am, I can do the same thing, but it's completely connected. And it's like there is no separate, like, you have me and then your higher self, and then, it's just kind of, that makes sense. That this
Hmm.
is, um, and what I emit as the river, um, is, well, I'm emitting consciousness, I'm emitting codes, I'm emitting, light. So, okay. So a deer, kind of an animal, has come along the river and grazing a little and coming to drink. And so in drinking me, they're drinking the code, so they're drinking some of that, they're imbibing some of that consciousness, so some of that information, some of that expansion. I don't know. So more than just water to quench a thirst, or or a necessity for their life.
Hmm.
It's almost like elixir comes to mind. So the river itself is this all things. It's it's consciousness. It's love. It's, well, it's not just H2O.
More than.
But it seems to be the building blocks of creation
Hmm.
in the very elixir, in the very fluid, in the water, so to say, of the river. And so it's the original. It's kind of like, I'm getting the sense, I'm the original flow of, well, the flow of love keeps coming to mind from source, and this flows out not only on this planet, but this somehow I don't understand the mechanics of it, but it can go to all other spheres, all over planets, all other forms. Like where a river might go, or
Mhm.
in any location. So planets a zillion miles away from each other.
So does that happen with like the codes being admitted? Is that how that reaches the other planets and all over?
Yeah, yes, and also the picture that just came into my mind was, so on planet Earth there are there are waters, rivers, you know,
Mhm.
bodies of water above ground, but the arteries, the whole system of the water below ground is like 3 times, 4 times more than what's above ground.
Ah.
And and that's a big part of Gaia's communication system. Is the water, can communicate with itself all across the planet. So it's similar to that, and in within space, that which is the space, it has, as in like outer space, it
Mhm.
has the ability to have this, somehow the structure of water, so maybe like baby tiny rivers or something, and I'm equating it with a linear mind, so it's a little um well, nothing is not connected. So if we think that there's a planet and then nothing, so space, and then another planet, but yet it's all in a weave of energy, so
Mhm.
a fabric of energy, and within that, um, when it gets to more thingness, it since it takes up more form, then it is more the way we think of a river or something like that.
Okay.
So nothing is disconnected, and this, it's, I don't know how to describe it. The word comes to mind is elixir of creational force. Uh, so what I was trying to do is see if there's a way I can get more of a sense of how I'm connecting with everything on this valley, this location.
Mhm.
Well, there's something about that which is this river does flow all over this uh, celestial body, but it's almost like this is for this planet, this valley, these mountains, this valley is where it's the headwaters of um, the beginning part of the spigot of this elixir on this planet.
Hmm. So, in this present moment, in a way, are you still connected to that original flow, that original river?
Yeah. Well, if the water is undulating a little as it undulates, I can get more
Mm-hmm.
of a view. But yeah, I am definitely the river, and like I said, the quality of the light and the colors, and well, if I think of a river at different times of day, in the morning, if it's cool and there's a difference in temperature, the vapor off the river or the fog or steam or whatever. Um, so everything in the aspect of this river is transmitting information, consciousness, life force, creational codes. Um, and the biggest feeling of what those codes feel like is, well, it's astonishingly deep. It's love absolute. I mean, it's almost like that's what's in, with lots of information within it, but that's what's in when someone comes to drink there, or if the vapors come off, or
Hmm. So, I was wondering if, in a way, you said that that which is the river that flows all over is connected to that celestial body. I was wondering if symbolically, is that a way to say that we all are connected, even if that river is another aspect of yourself? You being in this present moment, still being connected to that flow.
yes,
Okay, that's quite fascinating.
yes.
Okay.
And what's interesting is kind of what came forward as more of a description of that. So,
Mhm.
um, like the deer that came to drink, so it gets the moisture and stuff that, I guess just drinking from a regular river would, but that connection, that flow, those codes that um apparently the animals think this river is pretty damn cool too. You can send me quite the active dream over there. um Not only is there a connection, but there is life force is given.
Mhm.
The like you can't not be connected to source,
Mhm.
because your physical body wouldn't be animated if you were no longer connected to source.
Mhm.
So it's like that, although it's like the very sustenance of creation. It's not just that body that is alive as a deer, needs to drink that. I don't know. I'm not. It's hard to it's hard to put it into words.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you said it pretty clearly.
Okay. Now, being in this present moment, being this body of water, this river, and being so connected in this scene, do you feel that this is something that you could bring into your present reality and learn how to connect with all that is?
Well, yeah, it's almost like it's creating a muscle memory of how to do
Mm,
that.
okay, good.
Yeah. And yeah, you can, people will describe if they're married, they can feel their heartbeat, they can hear their heartbeat, then they can hear, anything that's the grass or the animal or
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I think the muscle memory, something about if I go back to the feeling of the river and then feel the deer as it drinks or the mountains there, uh, with focus, I think that could start to pull that in.
Very good. Now just take a moment to strengthen that muscle. All right. We're going to allow that scene to fade. Just letting it all fade away. And just begin to float and travel through time and space. Just floating to another necessary time, another relevant place. Just moving there on the count of five. One, moving through time and through space. Two, allowing yourself to float and move. Three, four, let the images unfold. And five, you are there now.
I'm watching a scene of fire and destruction, and that's being set, that's being lit up. I'm with a team, I guess, trying to get a handle on what's going on and what's being done.
And what's the landscape look like around you? Are there buildings? You in a city or?
Yeah, it looks like buildings. Um, I don't think it's this minute.
Okay.
and the buildings are more, well, I want to say it's a cleaner kind of architecture, although it's hard to really get much of a sense because it's a lot of it's pretty much ablaze.
Mm. And what about yourself? What do you look like?
I'm a soldier.
Mm. Okay. Male or female?
Male.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I guess this is some kind of ongoing battles, and it's taking place. Well, I'm standing on the planet. It's taking place on the planet, but um, uh, they're craft in the air, but they aren't just. They're like they don't need to stay within the lower atmosphere of the planet, so they're I guess, you know, like starcraft.
Mm-hmm.
So like a jet fighter can go to a certain level and then it just doesn't go any higher. But these can do both. They can do sorties in down into the in a high altitude, in actually out in space, and then um, the configuration of the plane or the craft changes a little, and then it can come down in lower into the atmosphere.
Mm. Can you describe the shape?
Um, well, there are parts that are angular to it, but it's funny. It's kind of a almost like a bullet nose, but with fins on it. So it has kind of like a bullet shape sort of a thing, wide, but so there's parts that are kind of curved and smooth and curved, but also there are then fins or angular parts. So maybe the top kind of goes like this, and then the nose kind of is like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also like as it widens out, it's more angular,
Mm. Okay.
so that it can. Oh, okay. That's part of that is to be able to go through the streams, not only of currents of whatever atmosphere is there, but also the molecules of energy. So the streams of energy. Huh. So I don't know if that means like slipstreams in time. That's my sense. don't quite understand all of what I know, but I don't. And I don't think this is Orion, but I have a sense that this is connected to the Orion War. I don't know if this is a planet within that system, within that belt, or
Now, is this a planet that you live on where all the
no,
fires and destruction is going on?
no, we're gathering information on this, although it has some similarities to where I live, and uh, we've had this. This is kind of what in this whole sector life is like this. It's kind of hot spots or quiet, but it's war is life.
Do you understand why the wars are happening?
Um, well, it seems to be complex. Part of it is resources, and part of it is um, like just because infiltration, but also because the other beings want our planet, our planets, the system, and to rule the system. So it's about the resources, but the controlling of everything, everything on the planet, in the planet, the the beings in there, the whole, and dictating what's done. The scene is changing, almost like I'm watching the planet move through time,
Mm-hmm.
or or like I don't know if you fast forward a video of something.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
What's taking place now?
Well, it seems to be progressing fairly fast. You know and so it seems to be wow. Um, day by day by day, year by year by year. Um, but it's that's kind of a linear way to describe what I'm trying to make sense of. But um, it's like layer by layer by layer, vibrational frequency neighborhoods. So the energy of the energies of the planet, the energies of every being on the planet wow, are shifting. They're expanding. The consciousness, the it's like I don't know, maybe this is the right word, like the whole planet is going from one frequency, vibration, or range, if it's this wide, that vibration, and as that vibration changes, because, well, the vibration changes and the beings on the planet and the whole planet are changing as well. So it's they're related, they respond to each other.
Mhm.
But when that happens, everything is like the so it was a warring frequency, and the frequencies are shifting, like time lapse of the sun coming up and going down. So as it's arcing in the on the planet, the whole planet is changing. So what was burning and a sense of war is life, and then the colors, the structures, um, what people were kind of doing, or what the whole main sort of focus was, is shifting as well. So it's like watching the evolution of the planet.
Ah.
Yeah. and and isn't that interesting? I don't
Mhm.
know whether that's what we came here to watch. I think that's what we came here. I think that's what we're. It's almost like something triggered this whole. Um,
Shift.
yeah, and that we came here to watch, because I'm not surprised by this.
Hmm. Yeah, I was wondering if you and your team had anything to do with the shift or if you guys were just kind of collecting the information.
Yeah, I'm not certain that we had any. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say I don't think we had anything to do with it, but we knew it was. We knew why we were here, and this is why we're here to watch this. Um, I don't know. Something is in my in me, as where I am is in. I keep thinking of the of. Uh, Watching the trigger of the it's almost like something did start this whole super fast, but I just looked at my something, there's like on my arm, uh there's some kind of like oh no, I'm like on my suit, my I guess it's my uniform, or my whatever I'm wearing. But on my arm, I have some devices, uh, like like a big cuff
Mhm.
that's on my arm that has devices in it, and um, so what we're watching is a vast shift, but it's not taking. I'm not standing here for years watching it happen. So that so the I don't know if it's because it's the range and frequency that we're accelerating through. Have we have the has have not I'm not sure if the planet has somehow decided and everything on it to shift through all of this. So those were the potentialities, those were the timelines, the the years, or the right, the progression, and they've somehow been able to, I don't know, compress the time. Or does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't get the sense we touched a button or something, but something about this team being here. They're holding the space. They're holding some energetic structure. They're holding like a conduit for this acceleration
Hmm.
to occur. I'm not getting, uh, not quite getting the clear description of words that I can.
Could it be like holding the frequency so that the planet and the beings could shift into that?
Oh, that could be, yeah.
Okay.
So there were as a okay, so that's interesting. So there was a trajectory that the planet and the beings were in, and they were they wanted to they could um they could somehow, they were able to tap into, them over here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like it's a mutually agreed upon form of, it's not the right word, but terraforming. So energy forming.
Mm-hmm.
um the planet and all of the beings wanted to set this in motion. And so my team is there. I get the sense that there's other teams like me around, structured to hold the space around the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they orchestrated it, but we're holding it so it can go. Like with terraforming, you can have a genesis, um, reaction that can go in, and then it spreads throughout very quickly, as as it embeds in the geo structure of it and goes forward. And so this is so they're the planet and the beings on the planet have chosen this, and it's not actually, they didn't push a button, but they somehow initiated it, so they're the genesis of it. And my team is, so we have some tools on our we each have these big cuffs, on our arms that
Mm-hmm.
have these things. But they're almost amplifying what's in us to hold that space.
Mm.
So the teams, there's 7 in mine. I think the 4 male and 3 female. And that seems to be their teams of 7 structured in various places around the planet. I'm, I'm not quite sure the count of how many teams that is. Um, but we're emitting, and something about this thing on my arm is triangulating. Um, it's an organic frequency that like grid that shoots up and grids the planet. So when
Mhm.
the planet and the inhabitants, the beings, all the beings, not just the you know human type humanoid, um, they're set and they're ready, and the triangulation, the something about our own energy beams and our bandwidth to hold that
Mhm.
is then triangulated along these cuffs somehow can, I don't know, shoot those beams up. So it's like holding the space grid that kind of goes up, and that's so in this, you know dawn to dusk or sunrise to sun, so that whole movement of the way that their sun lights the planet, in that it this change is is fast forwarding through all of those, is it cycles, timelines, evolution, I'm not quite sure the right word to.
Mm. That's what I was thinking, timeline.
And now, it's almost like we just seem to be packing up, and everything seems to just have settled, is the word that keeps coming to mind, or it's settling in, like if you this is weird, if you take a snow globe and you shake it up, and it
Mhm.
kind of has a lot of stuff. Oh, okay. So, well, kind of, maybe that's more actually I thought, but a snow globe, instead of snow and plastic little things,
Mhm.
it's um it's almost the effervescence, looking of all the light, all the frequencies, all of um, the shifting of the matter, the materialized form of all that is, has been super excited to make this movement that was a unanimous or completely planet wide choice and direction. And so, um, all that is now settling into, like the fast forward, and they got to
Mhm.
the space that they wanted, and now it's just, so the materialization, the formness, is now solidifying into its new coherent resonant structure.
Oh, okay. I'm curious about the beings that were causing the fire and destruction. Did they shift as well with this planet?
Hmm. What I'm getting is there that some uh, were asked and they asked and were asked, they said, can we stay and do this and give our energy to it? Um, so some moved off to go kind of keep doing what they're doing,
Oh,
and
okay.
some did make um, but it's interesting, not all of them could survive it.
Hmm. Was it too high of a frequency for them?
Yeah, that's kind of the sense I'm getting.
Okay.
But it's they didn't just, you know disappear or get obliterated. There was seemed to be, again, um the conscious intent, the, kind of, somehow this form, this process, this whole intention, this whole genesis, um the genesis codes, the um the will, the choice, whatever. It's not quite clear what that is, but it came around, and so, since at the kind of right in the time or the moments or timeline or whatever that this was happening in, um, or they worked this out to be the ones that were had come to war on this planet. Some were given the choice to leave, and leave and go do whatever you're going to do someplace else. Um, if they stayed without a choice to aid in this, they would absolutely be destroyed, just because of that shearing
Mm-hmm.
force differential. And some openly or actively held the intention, I mean, they were, I think, they were all doing lots of stuff, but all of it is, they were the lensing mechanism to be the genesis of this actual change. So they kind of, like, they were all the buttons.
Mm-hmm.
And my team and the teams were called into, because they wanted to do, um like, I don't know, that's where the word juggernaut comes. So they wanted to have this genesis juggernaut, so they needed, apparently we do this, that they're or do this is some of what we do, to hold that space, to be able to hold that big frequency jolt, or I don't know, it's a little confusing.
Hmm. Do you feel that
But
this is the first planet that you and your team has been to hold that grid and to make this shift? Or have you done this many times?
no, I think this is it feels a familiar thing. This may have been um, this is the one this is something we've never done it to this scope or this far, this fast
Mm-hmm.
before. But okay, that's interesting. So but this was also where the choices of the beings, uh, regardless of, you know, of knowing that they may not survive it, they made this choice. So something about the quality of the choice that they were making, and the selflessness of all involved making this choice, like I said. So the beings that were here, um warring, kind of aggressing, um them making the choice to move on, and for the most part not interfere with this, something that that had ramifications in somewhat of a shift for them too. So it's like, it's a conscious, the breadth and depth and the quality of the consciousness choice of all involved is what allowed such a big shift to happen, such a big change to occur.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I'm getting that we do this in other places, but this is, it's a new level of, like, spontaneous intent, or vision of this, and everyone coming together. It's almost like it's a shared, like if you have a, um I don't know, a shaman or seer or something in a thing, and but as that was spoken of, they could all then tap into that. And so it seems like I think that's why we're here as well, because the not only moving the having that shift and moving those things is, evolution and a big jump and a creational leap in just moving past all that. The trajectory that they were on was such, would have looked like this, and then this, and then this, and then this, over, I don't know, centuries or something. But because the beings were able to tap into, they could they were given information, they all, something about, they all, like, listened, or could then have their, tap into the same vision. And because they've all chose to do that, this is why they were able to make that such a hyper accelerated, um, shift from the genesis of them.
Oh, okay. So they could
So
foresee the timelines and they all kind of came to an agreement and
yes,
decided. Okay. So
so
it kind of made
apparent
the energy stronger.
yes, and
Okay.
apparently the choice point, the node points, the intention, the will, the desire, what, I'm not quite sure the right word, but so that in itself was a big new thing. Not only just going this far this fast, sort of say, but the fact that had, it's like the light bulb went on for all of them. They said, no, we're in 100% to just do this, and we're, we may wink out of existence, but So apparently that's we were the teams were assisting, but we were also wanting to bear witness to this. It was a materialized, resonant, cohesive structure, and so um, like there's coherence in the heart and the mind. So, but this was on a planetary scale, and every being joined and made, the very act of them all being in that resonant field, right? Where you have the heart and the mind
Mm-hmm.
across planet wide and the planet. That was the button. That was the switch. That was the nuclear detonation that did this. Of obviously of a very positive kind. But
It kind of makes me think about the earth and the things that are happening in our reality.
I know I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
Wait a minute, this is very interesting.
it
So
is.
that's very interesting.
Hmm.
I'm not quite getting a sense of where I'm. Well, somehow it is related. Somehow our teams are also related to what's going on Earth, but I was not clear on that. But when you said that, uh, actually, we all smiled at each other when you said that. It's very funny. Very interesting.
Makes me wonder, do we have teams that are holding a
Well,
grid for the earth?
yeah, it's like, almost like they tacitly agree that, that one's about to let the cat out of the bag.
Hmm.
And mum's the word over on this.
Well, I'm on that shifting train, so.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, but it's interesting, as you were before you even said that. um I was feeling a similar kind of thing, that this is it's um the sense I'm getting has never been done, but um it's almost like, and because there is no, like past or future, it's this
Hmm.
chain reaction thing. So this is interesting. So this there seems to be a connection in visiting here and the river, because like the river was connected in all, nothing is not connected, so it
Hmm.
is in all, you know all over existence, says, in form or no form. But um so something about this is that chain reaction, which is simultaneous for, maybe, is it for every sphere, every civilization, every, I don't know, something, there's something in there that's interesting. So one, you could think, well, you go to see what's happening, or they're the first to have done it, but it's,
Hmm.
and yes, in a narrow focus, that is could be absolutely accurate, but it's almost like there's, like, everybody had, all beings everywhere having this, I don't know, they all drank the genesis of leaping Kool-Aid. And just like with the, with the intention in the water, it's, well, isn't that what, because what came first, the river and the water?
Mm-hmm.
So isn't that very interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Hmm. Yeah, we just seem to be not really even on the planet anymore. We're not sure how we're getting there, what we're doing, but we're just enjoying watching this whole planet, and all of the consciousness of this is just settling into this. It's totally new field. It's totally new vibrational landscape.
Certainly something to be proud of that you and the team accomplished.
Yeah, well, it was a major, you know,
Mm-hmm.
talk about a major collective of
Mm-hmm.
everybody. No shirkers there. Everybody's holding the intention for the whole planet.
So
It's
let's allow that scene to fade. Just allowing it to fade away. And begin to travel and float to the next necessary time, to an important event, and moving there in 3, 2, and 1. You're there.
like a color storm. Feels like I'm moving through space, but I'm traveling at a accelerated speed, but I don't know whether it's just the space that I'm seeing, and as I pass by its colors, some places it looks like, um, dazzling lights, like, the rain, like the diamonds on water, and sometimes there's different colors to it, and
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know whether I'm traveling through space and seeing it in a very rapid way, so I'm seeing all the colors that are represented in, so each different area that I'm passing, sort of, like you might see lights on the highway at night, or you might,
Mm-hmm.
um, well, the space seems to be more enlivened, so I'm passing, what I see are like, um, portals, and like, wormholes that, well, maybe that's the portal and the wormholes opening up, or it's almost like I'm traveling at a great velocity through a myriad of sectors of space.
Hmm. Do you feel that you are traveling in something? Do you feel that you're standing on or sitting on something?
really make anything out. I mean, mostly what my attention is focused on is space, the vastness
Hmm.
of the space, the different sectors of different. Um, well, there seems to be, and it's not me picking up on one place and not another, but there's some is much more brightly colored, some has these incredible, like you could say, mists or clouds of color that have different shapes and forms, and I'm not sure how to describe it, but I hear the most interesting, but I guess it is beautiful what I hear, but it's hard to. I don't really have the correct languaging, but and it's so I'm not just seeing the space and the colors and the different areas or regions, but I can hear it too. So some it is very I want to say the quiet is so clean. It's not actually quiet, but it's um, I guess maybe the very quality of the quiet is so clean and um, it makes its own sound or emits its own frequency of that. And then some of the other spaces with the or I don't know how to describe it, like quadrants or something. But so I'm passing. Well, it's kind of it's kind of like passing through um, unbound or boundless size images from the Hubble telescope. So this is exactly what it looks like if you were to click through lots of different pictures that the Hubble telescope was taken.
Hmm.
I'm actually moving through those parts of space.
Can you compare the noise to anything that you've heard? Something similar?
Well, the music of the spheres comes to mind as far as so it's I can actually hear it, but I feel it, and it comes awareness through my ears. So
Mm-hmm.
and it's it's tied to the colors. Well, the frequency of the colors and the vibration vibration that they emit too is tied into what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it seems to be just, I don't know if I don't know if I am the space or am a being traveling. I don't. Well, if I'm traveling, I don't feel. Um, don't feel like I'm like a being in a craft because it doesn't seem to be anything separating me from the space that I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, I mean, it seems to be very one flows into the next, but it's like in smooth transitions. So you're you're moving here, and I like right here. It's a silvery blue light, like very small diamonds shimmering in the space, uh, in this section of space as I move through it.
Hmm.
And then it may be more indigo or more inky black, or not as much color, and then I'm moving into another. If you're in a train and you're moving fast and you can see outside, you can
Mhm.
make out shapes of trees in the building, and maybe a road, or a cow in a giant pasture, or a bit of a mountain, and you're just kind of whizzing by them. So you can
Mhm.
see shapes, you can see colors, you can, because if you label it, you can, forms of, well, there's a little village or cars or whatever. Um, but I'm but you're traveling through. So I'm traveling through, but I'm not getting a sense that I'm in a craft, or
Do you have a sense of a destination?
uh, what I have a sense is of that I'm the eyes, or the mechanism that perceives what I'm perceiving, and that's it.
Hmm.
And my it was a weird way to answer the question, but it's what came in right away, is that
Mhm.
my destination is my observation. So my movement through all of this, that's the point, that's the outcome, that's the purpose and the result of it. So it's not to get from I start here and
Mhm.
I'm going there. It's the this sounds stupid, but it's the journey.
Okay.
um but yeah, I'm the eyes, I'm the view screen. But it doesn't seem like there's any eyes or a view screen. It's just maybe I'm the negative space between I don't know how to describe it, but I don't get a sense of being in a body, and I don't get a sense of being in a craft, and I'm seamlessly moving through the sections of space. And one of the so the other way I would say the destination is to notice and um, is so not soak up, and is to mirror, or to reflect reflect, as in, a mirror would reflect something,
Mhm.
the space that's there. So everything that's in that makes it up. So the colors of it, the patterning, or the form or shape, or kind of structure of it. Um, and some have more audible sounds or noise or music or something, and others. But so it's almost like Well, it's kind of both sides of it. So I'm the space, and I'm the telemetry capture of all of that.
Okay.
Okay. We're observing each, I don't know how, something like that. We're observing each other. So, or the very act of space traveling through it is, I can't put it into words, but
Okay. Do you feel connected to it in the way that you did with the river?
yes.
Okay.
And so uh well, this is the kind of the jumbled way it's coming out. So it's informing me, and I'm it informing um, the 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 substance, the contents, the beings, the structures within all the space that I'm moving through.
Hmm.
Again, there is a sense of everything being very connected. So some, like I said, it's just gorgeous. I mean, it's just breathtakingly beautiful. But each part of the landscape of the space is different. It's visually different. It's uh, I would say, it just sounds different, and well, and it's all consciousness structures too,
Hmm.
beyond. So I'm connected to the space. So you know space, deep space, and all right. Um, and and I'm connected to, maybe if there's a star or a planet, but in a I feel a connection to those. Maybe that's the right way to say it. But there seems to be like their own structure, or they're their own. Oh, they're stepped, not separate, but stepped down from my consciousness of the space. Does that make it so more in so I'm feeling that I'm all of this space, which includes everything, the lights and the colors and the sound and the structures of the plants or the stars, or stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
um but if I focus for a minute on a part of that, it's like a step down in my aperture of consciousness to does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, I was going to ask, is it something like each sector or each section has their own consciousness, and then you and it being a mirror informing each other? It's like you
Yeah,
can kind of
yeah,
cue into that,
yeah.
but maybe
Step,
feel a
step,
broader sense in your own.
right. So
Okay.
stepping down seems to be like all of space is, and everything in it is seems to be what I am, or I guess what I am. That's um, and then part of it, um, each focused words are weird. So each focused thing, each like, oh, there's a planet, right? And so I have a connection to it, but it's more individuated.
Hmm.
So it's stepping down is the word that keeps coming to mind from that. So
Okay.
the and I keep part of me keeps going back to your question of like destination, or you know, well, why are you there? And it's to it's to feel okay. So that's interesting to be conscious of feeling um, the part before the stepping down. If that makes sense.
A bit.
Well,
Is it kind of like gaining a bit more knowledge um, when tuning in or connecting or focusing in on that? Like a sense of you in your own space has this broadened consciousness, but when you focus in on a different section, is it kind of soaking in more knowledge to expand
yes,
yours even
it's
more?
just yeah, it's giving me more information. So like um, it's I would think of it in a photographer way. So it's catching more light, it's refracting more light, so it's actually giving more information because there's um, it's um, it's not all of everything. It's this piece, and
Mhm.
so this piece has sides or structures or curves or whatever that piece is, and so it refracts the light, and the light is information, so it's refracting, beaming back to me that information.
Very interesting.
So when I'm moving through, well, I'm moving through that which I am, so I'm moving through all of this space that I see, that I am aware of, that I don't know how to, that I am, I guess.
Mhm.
um and so that's kind of like, that's the space. And then like I was noticing that one which was quite lovely. I mean, it's all gorgeous, but quite lovely. That one, there was that silvery blue section of space that had, I don't know whether it was clouds or gaseousness, or but it seemed like silvery blue diamonds in mists rising. If I was going to describe it from just a planet, things I've seen on the planet,
Mhm.
mist rising off the steam in the water, and something about the quality of that. So just enjoying me, I guess is the words that want to come, and looking at then, so honing in enough on that section to the which I was then prompted to give voice to it. It stands out to then inform me about it, so connect me more to it, inform me more about it. It's that um, well, it's kind of like the singular, the all, and then the individuated. Does that make sense?
Yes. Hmm.
But I never, I never thought about looking at the other
Mm.
way around. So that's, I mean, huh. And what I'm trying to do is describe the sense and feeling and yeah, I'm trying to put words to the data or the information or the well, it's just the knowing of what is, and I'm trying to I'm trying to I have to step it down even more to put words on it to describe. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Loses something in translation.
That is very interesting. And I keep hearing expanding consciousness.
Yeah, it's so varied and so um, unique or well, it's so everything is so the breadth and depth and richness and uniqueness or the singulariness or something about is is quite astonishing um, because I seem to be reflecting on I'm the space. I am the space. So I'm all that I'm viewing and looking at. But as I view and look at this section or that thing in this other section or the colors or what I'm hearing, um, it's so I'm already this, but it's so fascinating to see what I am. I,
Mhm.
I don't know how to I don't know how to use words to this, but it's very the feeling is very informing. It's very enlightening. It's very um, uh, I don't know. I guess those are pretty good placeholder words, but
Yeah.
it's the feedback, the totality of the sensory array feedback that it's showing me. It's like, wow, that's cool.
Hmm.
And but that's me, but I already know it's me. I don't know how to describe it. It's very interesting.
It is.
It's the when we're a human, we think that we're small and this and you look at space and you go, wow, it's so big, it's so vast, and I'm just this, you know, and this is experiencing it from the other side. So I am space,
Mm.
and there seems to be, well, not seems to be, there is an awareness that I'm also this section, that silvery blue section of space.
Mhm.
And that's like, a knowing, and it's but when I focus on that part of me, that that nuance of me, maybe
Mhm.
it seems to come alive. It's I notice more, and the very act of okay, so that's interesting. So the observer effect, so the very act of noticing more of it makes there's more of it to notice. There's
Ah.
more. I have no idea if I'm making any sense with words, but what so I'm looking at this section, and yes, I'm space, and I'm that space, so that's me. But in noticing it and observing it, in connecting with it in a more intimate thing instead of just me,
Mhm.
it grows, it expands, it has it knows all about itself and is informing me
Mm.
about me. I don't know if
That makes
that's.
sense.
I'm
So
glad one of us thinks so.
so it's almost a sense of it's almost a sense like this is all you, but when you put your awareness, your focused awareness on like a focal point, then it's kind of like gaining more clarity about that specific focus.
Yes, and it's not just, so this is what is particularly, I mean, the feeling of how cool, how cosmically delicious it is, that it's
Mhm.
not just the focus of it that gives me more awareness of it, but um it becomes more, which shows me more. So it's growing, it's changing, it I guess it expands because of that. And
Mm.
then so in a sense, it's this section here is more than, so I'm all of this, which is this too, but in that focus, in that, I don't know, focus, it grows, so it's actually more than me,
Hmm.
which then makes all of, I don't, the very act of noticing and focusing on it makes, like if it was a flower, or cells dividing, and it grows, it expands,
Mhm.
it becomes enlivened, it becomes more, it, and then it's more than it ever was, which makes me more than I ever was. And it's that dance between everything and the singularity, right? So as a human, you might think, well, you're small and space is big, or source is big, or source is everything, and I'm just, little old me here. But in the very act of, it's growth on both sides. It's it's unlimited expansion and potentiality
Mhm.
coming into actual, I don't know, substance, but that doesn't have to have form per
Mhm.
se, on both sides.
And I'm also thinking it kind of goes to show how connected we truly are to everything.
Yes.
Mhm.
And this is not at all, it's a very linear way to say that, but to me, it's astonishing to even have the thought that, um, a need is not the right word, but I can't think. So source needs us, or benefits by us, as much as we especially we perceiving that we're small, we benefit from source. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like the transfer of information or codes that you were speaking of, like the mirror.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I mean, that is such a huge, uh, the feeling in me to um, it's very awe-inspiring to, or it's just I don't know, I'm in awe or awe-inspiring or something on on both on both ends of that. Just to even have that concept come into me and then give voice to it. It's almost like I'm doing the same kind of thing I'm trying to explain here.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of getting a metaphor come up as to um, what I'm being shown right now is kind of like saying what goes back to you saying just as much as we need source, source needs us, that sort of thing. But it really makes me feel or kind of expanded my awareness on, just how it feels to kind of get a download of information and how that knowledge kind of just empowers you or, just gives you a sense of knowing. It kind of expands your consciousness in a way. But it really makes me wonder what is reflected back. It's almost like a vice versa
Yes.
metaphor that I'm getting here.
Yeah. And well, what was coming when you were saying this, so when you get a download, it's, you could say it's new information and unpacks itself, but it also just is.
Mhm.
Right? Like once it unpacks, it's you knew all this stuff you didn't know before, but you don't remember and never not knowing it because,
Mhm.
right? And yeah, so the metaphor that I got from you is that we do that to source.
Mhm. Yep.
Now there's something you don't
that's
think about every day.
that's pretty expanding.
Well, which is why I always say that each being, especially right now, is essential, is integral to all of this unwinding and unbinding, to all of this happening. And so this would explain that, because it's
Absolutely.
not, source is not, we're not marionettes and source is pulling all the strings, right?
Mhm.
That's why it has to be an inside job. That's why it can't happen any other way,
Right. Mm.
because we're source. I don't know. Words seem, but yeah, I love how you said that. That brought something to me that I hadn't quite got the thing of. Huh. Well, I like my space that I
Yeah. It's
am.
well, let's call in the higher self and get a little bit more information to help you. Um, So I'd like to ask permission for the higher self to step forward and use BZ's voice to answer questions for her.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you very much. There are so many things you could have shown BZ tonight. Can you tell me why you chose to show her some of the things that you did?
Everything is connected.
Hmm.
Everything is informed by and meets everything else. It's not it's not like a happenstance that something happens or random. There's There's a very fabric in no form and in form that creates the other. It's never ending.
Hmm.
Expansion, expansion, ex, expansion expands each facet of all that's connected. It's all of the whole.
Is that what you were trying to show her with the river and the space as well?
Yes, and each part of that is core flows, I guess. Flows is what's coming in
Okay.
of um, consciousness.
And I had asked her while she was in the river scene where she was the river and connected very well to it, if she thought that was something that she could bring into this reality and connect with, whether it be nature in general or bodies of water and things like that. Is that something that she can actually do? Feel and be that connected, that in tune with it?
Yes, she's been doing this for a while, but can do it greater. And part of her moving, part of her movement in what she's coming to step into. It's a transformation of her life, of her being, of her capabilities. Um, it's what's next for her. But as she moves, actually, around the country, around the sections of the planet, she will move through and connect these different things and um, be the conduit, be the lens and the huh, and the instrument that gives voice to this, that gives the visual and the voice um, to to broadcast it to others
Hmm.
so that they could touch that, they can see that in them, realize that connection is them.
That's very beautiful how you showed her that. She was wanting clarity on her next phase. Was this, something that was very important for her to understand? And can you expand on it anymore for her so that she knows what's coming up or what's next?
There is strength and fortitude and a revealing of the simple flow when she can see this, when
Mm.
she can feel that consciousness goes both ways.
Mhm.
And that will give her, our hope is that it gives her confidence to go with the ideas that are rising up within her to do this. So things will meet up with her, things will show themselves to her, either people or information or images. Images will bring a lot to her. Things that she may notice or see, or a snapshot looking at part of Gaia or the planet. And that will give her, as she says, dots to connect.
Mm. Very nice. Could you tell me a little bit about why you chose to show her the battle on the planet, the fire and destruction, and how her and her team shifted that?
Because each is so powerful
Mm.
and such an instrument of love, such an instrument of change, and the act of choosing, the act of reaching for that from a pure desire has the power to shift everything.
Mm.
And it doesn't take time, which doesn't isn't a construct the way that it's held. So feeling that, seeing that, is a way to inform and remember, reintegrate the knowing of that.
And knowing that and integrating that knowledge of that, I had also asked her, I was wondering if that had something to do with Earth as of now and our reality.
Yes.
Hmm.
When you choose and you stand in your power, you'll be astonished.
Hmm.
And what's there is like what she saw with the sections of space informing all of space. Now in the planet, on Earth planet, which is connected to all, each being is being informing themselves, and that is changing it. That's making that choice. Look at the changes that have occurred since very beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the vibrational landscape that you moved through and the distortions that have been released. And so, yes, you can choose to do this.
I'm also curious as to if we have teams that are holding the grid and shifting our frequency.
They are part of the human collective.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they're multidimensional, so they may appear from another time and space in another time and space.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all, you could say, the same being, same abilities.
And do you have any messages for the collective tonight?
You have moved so far in opening your hearts and being able to see what you're knowing, what your deep knowings are. And you think you're watching it out there, but you're translating it from within you. And because of that, it will seem, you will perceive it to be quite jumbled, quite rocky, quite lightning speed of what is happening. And if you can find a way for yourself to choose to feel that velocity of heart that you've moved, that's why you are where you are. That's why everything is where it is, because you've moved it. So perhaps notice that, perhaps acknowledge that for you.
Mm. Thank you for that. That was very beautiful. Let's see. So BZ was also wondering about Xander. If you have any details or information for her at this time.
The cosmic pup,
Mm-hmm.
he's agreed, in agreement with her other team, her Keegan, and her heart herself to come for what she's agreed to do, what she's stepping into, what she refers to as this rocket she's about to take off on. Something very magical will occur
Mm.
when that trinity comes into coherence with each other.
And are they grounding rods for her in her next phase?
Yes, they help to hold the field steady
Mm-hmm.
because of the shifts and changes and wattage, you might say, she might say,
Mm-hmm.
coming in to her. So they, we don't want her going up like a Roman candle. Is to help with that.
Okay. And she was also curious about gaining obvious signs for the financial means for this next phase of hers. Is there anything she needs to be watching out for or things that are going to help her along the way?
She's doing a good job of following the nudges and directions to go and um, keep moving forward. And she's right in thinking that she doesn't have as much time as she thinks,
Mm-hmm.
just because she and all of the beings on the planet are bringing things to fruition, bringing things forward so much faster than even they had set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
So things will be recognizable. She may even agree to that, but yes.
Very good. Now, is there anything else that you would like for her to know tonight? Any more guidance, wisdom that you can share?
Very important for her to keep with the balance, and she's come up with some interesting ways to balance her energy, balance her apportionment of energy to the things she is doing. And be fierce about that balance, be fierce about how she's choosing to apportion that,
Mm-hmm.
and that will help her. That will be some of her signs, and that will help her.
Okay. I'd like to thank you for coming forth and sharing your wisdom and giving BZ the clarity that she needs to go forth. Okay, BZ, we're going to be bringing your light body back into your physical body now.